Hello, it's Chad Warren here from the adventurerchannel.com/blog. So glad to not really see you. uh, so, today I went through my internet addiction YouTube subscription page and found this video entitled The Ultimate 432 Hertz versus 440 Hertz Conspiracy and Comparison by Paul Davids. I'm not familiar with Paul yet until today, but he seems pretty cool. Looks like he's a musician and he's Norwegian or whatever those awesome ship Viking people are from White World or whatever over there. I'm teasing. So, the reason why I chose this to talk about in a video with you people and see if you give a flip is because it represents how I think that we as anybody, let alone I kind of consider myself, an independent researcher, right? It seems like you got two groups of people. There are still people in 2018 that are like, oh, you just can't believe nothing on the internet. Dibba-dibba-doo. Which is the dumbest freaking thing in the world to say, because all the other academic sources, let alone the mainstream media, if that's what they're dumb enough to think is somehow more viable because banking gangsters run it, I don't know why they would, other than that's what they like. They like to do what everybody else is doing because they're stupid. But anyway, no, seriously, the group of people that I'm around, which is not around, I'm virtually around them, that make these videos because I care about talking about this stuff. And where else are you going to talk about it? River City Coffee is a cool place to actually be yourself around other people in public before that's outlawed. And no, but I mean, I don't want to go to a Freemason hall or whatever. I like the general store kind of vibe. I hate to say it, but I like being in a McDonald's. You get all these different people. There's like these old timers in there reading the newspaper. I have this fantasy of a community that doesn't seem to really exist. So the problem is that I think that alternative media and the internet, what the average person may think about it is kind of true to me, and it's that ain't nobody doing nothing about nothing. All right, say you can handle the truth, right? I can handle the truth. A lot of people don't. They don't care about the truth. If you say something that they don't want to hear, they will just smugly smile in your face and brag about their ignorance, that they don't want to know and that you're wrong, and they don't have any appreciation of reason and using evidence to prove anything. It's just a bunch of hearsay. So regardless of the behavior of the majority of people in that fashion, the group of people like myself, we're not doing anything about anything because it's scary. It's like, yeah, the mafia runs the CIA, and they're the ones that are selling the drugs and got the soldiers over in Afghanistan guarding the poppy fields. What are you going to do about it? I don't know, man. Make a YouTube video is what I'm doing about it. It's just, if you're really honest and you don't just challenge the government, but you challenge your own thoughts. And I mean, what is good about people making a living off of YouTube videos? Do you think that's going to make us bias a little bit? Like, it's certainly not anything that we have any control of. It's not independent. That's for darn sure. Well, anyway, the point is, I'll play it. The guy is going to say that, the only problem with... Okay, so the basic argument here is that I heard it was the movie Fantasia was the first movie, that, in the late 40s, I guess it was after World War II, that there was this international standard for the A above C to be 440 hertz. That's frequency, 440 passes of a wave in a second. And so where did that come from? Why was that chosen? And then there's this idea that 432 hertz is more natural, and that it's somehow connected with the Schumann resonance, which I guess is around 8 hertz, and is supposed to be some kind of pulse of the Earth. Is that what the Pink Floyd album Pulse was about, that had the little blinking LED light on the CD? All kinds of questions arise. I got a phone number calling here. Are our heartbeats, are they connected with each other? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously we know that living in nature helps you, clears your mind. So, as usual, when you become intelligent, you realize there's not much that we do know, right? That the dumb world, the popular world, is like, oh yeah, Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. Yep, told me in the school. Everybody else says it. We're going to gang up on you. We got a catchy little mnemonic about 1492 and ocean blue. It's that stupid versus when you are actually thinking for yourself, you just come up with a zillion questions, and then it becomes a problem too, because good Lord, how could you ever get anything done if everybody is off in their own world and they can't agree on anything? So that's a big part of my message as being someone that has been so radically opposed to society, that in this environment of the, pro-anti-Trump silly Masonic theater parade world wrestling reality we live in of the news cycle, it alarms me as a person advocating individualism, thinking for yourself, and getting away from these gangsters that run everything. It is cause of chaos to get away from standardization, right? Because we're so addicted to the habits of Monday Night Football and Christmas and all of these things. So even if it's more natural to get away from it, it's like getting off of a drug. You better do that in a controlled way, or you could die because you got off of a poison. I'm very aware of that. And I am really not trying to tell everybody anything. Really, I'm trying to start a conversation and go, does anybody care? Does anybody want to be a cooperative, active, conscious leader, follower in their community? Or do we want to just find something on the various forms of media, whether they be ancient religious texts or recent TV shows on Netflix? Is that all we have to guide us? But I mean, I think we do need to create a new middle ground. So I'm trying to figure out what are the basis of foundations that we need to build this. And it's, are we building? That's what the Masons are doing. They're building, and they have a whole respect for making men better through building as a symbol. You know what I mean? That first you're building as a concept. That's really good fodder for to think about, because I've been living out of my truck in the woods since July. Well, see, that's 2 months today. Today's the 27th of September. And it's been very interesting. It's now normal to me to be living out of my truck, and I go and I camp at legal places for dispersed camping and wildlife management areas and the Ouachita National Forest. Luckily, I live in a place where you can do that. I don't think that it's like that everywhere. But, I right now I'm at Fair Park. I'm in Midtown Little Rock. This is where I have lived since 2012, and I was not far from here down on the southwest side of Little Rock before that, when I was still married. So yeah, I'm a radical person. I'm either going to be out in the woods in super nature, or I want to be. Let's watch a ball game. Let's go to an amusement park. Let's you know have a street protest. Let's hang out at the coffee shop. But just I guess that's like a drug kind of experience, to go from those different changes. Traveling. That's what keeps you alive, is going from one area to the next and figuring out who you are in relation with these different places. I know all that sounds like a tangent, but that's what I'm trying to figure out here, is that YouTube, Gnosticism, the Christ within, valuing your own experience as much as any of these texts of the history of man, and that's obviously important. We can't put one above the other. The now is where we're living. So whatever is of value in the past or the future has to also be in balance with the now. That just seems like a good rule of thumb. Here we go. Here's Paul Davids raising the question about seconds, and I was surprised to. I think he's correct. I think you could say it is arbitrary, or that seconds is actually based on measuring space. I see that now is a fact. I didn't understand that before, and now I do.
A very positive effect on the third eye chakra, and even can heal DNA. Probably true. The other side is pretty dark and covered up with some Illuminati conspiracy thoughts. Having read it a lot, I can summarize it as follows. The Nazis had their say in the matter, of course. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda man, supposedly pushed the internationalization of 440 in 1939 to untune people and cloud their intuition. If you dig deeper, you find out that Illuminati is probably involved as well. They supposedly sponsored Goebbels to promote the adoption of 440 standard. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, everyone is involved. But I'm still a bit skeptic. The problem I got with it is this. It is all measured on the basis of a second. Hertz. What's so special about a second? A second is not something divine. It is something we all decided to use as a standard system to define time. And it all dates back to the Babylonians, who used the sexagesimal system, counting to 60s. The use of 12 subdivisions for day and night, 60 for hours and minutes, turns out to be more useful than tens and hundreds. So we use seconds because it comes in handy, not because there is something universally connected to the time it takes for 1 second to pass. Okay, now it's time for some music. I'm playing songs in different keys because it's...
Alright, and so that's an interesting question. Let's see, and then I found this. Alright, where am I at? I am at Galactic Information Booth. 1260 and 1320. lawoftime.org/infobooth/1260 and 1320.html. What are they saying here? Foundation for the Law of Time. Galactic Information Booth, 1260 and 1320. It is simple to understand the 1260 and 1320 timing frequencies. In the 1260 frequency, people are ruled by the clock and money. Okay, I also understand that to be connected to Saturn, Father Time with the scythe, cutting the grain, business, money coming out of nature. And I have even heard Yahweh, the Jewish creator God, is connected with Saturn and their Star of David, the two triangles opposed, it makes a six-sided symbol, is the symbol for Saturn. So this really springs me back to my Gnostic research that says, what if, this whole idea of religion is evil? That they're talking about God. Talking about God and God are two different things. Because, here's an ancient book I found about the real God. Okay, you ready? It's an invisible book and it is silent. Because frickin' God is silent and invisible. Versus Yahweh, who was like, I'm a man in a robe! You stupid humans! Yeah! I mean, that's just like a mean old man. I didn't know. If you think God is a mean old man, you're crazy. And then we replaced that. We got Jesus. Yeah, we got, the first one, it did its deal. Got the Jews going, and there's all kinds of other people other than them that talk about these things, Zoroastrians and whatever. But, we thought he was kind of a jerk too, Chad, so we came up with this Jesus guy who dresses kind of like a woman. He's got long hair, and he's kind of puny, not really much of a worker. So we got that going for us. How much actual good comes out of Christianity versus, it's the bestest, mostest, mostest. That is as childish as, believing, nobody believes Transformers is real. It's Optimus Prime. He's the bestest, most, bestest, goodest. So, if you're not challenging these supposed good guys like you are these bad guys, then you're not a very good defender of good. You better test something to see if it's the real deal. Meaning, God wouldn't have anything to do with the physical world initially. Now, I can imagine all kinds of logic about that the reason why a God that is beyond the physical would create a physical world and then create people would be to grow by experiencing his own limitations that he created. This perfect, limitless God could grow by creating limitations for itself, and then that would justify our life purpose, right? Because we are what is giving something to this perfect God. Like in the what's the story? The lion and the mouse, and the lion hurts its paw, right? And then the little mouse can pull out the thorn or something like that. God, that creator God needs us. All right. So I left off there with the thing focusing that came to me about Saturn, Father Time, Yahweh, God, and thus Jesus are all connected in that, and we need to question, is that artificial or is that natural? Is it good? And there's this whole hate of nature. Rape that Mother Nature. Manifest that destiny. Be fruitful and multiply. That is the way, I guess manifest destiny was how Christianity was used to inspire the colonial Americans to take over the continent of North America. All right. Enough of my ranting. The deadening daily grind takes precedence over spiritual purpose in the 1260 frequency. Time is money. In the 1320 frequency, time is art. That's interesting. In the 1320 frequency, people are ruled by their heart, nature, and art, and guided by dreams and synchronicity. Which is why when you get off work from your slave job, you watch your Netflix for where the artists make work. They may make creative works for you. So even if you, understandably, look at intellectuals and poets and artists as a bunch of hippie losers, obviously they're not. Obviously, even in the time is money world, you got Hollywood and book publishing and whatnot. Okay, everything is always in perfect order in the 1320 frequency. It's always on time. Everything is always new. Each day is a cosmic unfoldment. The essence of the discovery of the timing frequency is a simple one. The 1260 refers to an unconsciously accepted order of time that is artificial in nature. 12 refers to the codification of daily time into an irregular and arbitrary calendar of 12 months. Originated in Babylonia, the final historical form of the 12-month system was instituted in 1583 by the Vatican, not good people, as the Gregorian calendar, which is now accepted as the standard in use worldwide. 60 refers to the equally arbitrary division of the day into 24 times 12 of the 1260 is the creation of a timing frequency whose mental field of consciousness is dominated by mechanization and a third-dimensional science of space matter. Yeah, like technology that was foreseen, cybernetics, those are words from the Greeks. And I think it was Plato or one of those, great philosophers was foreseeing what we call transhumanism. Terminator, the robots taking over, foreseeing that in a positive light a long time ago. Unconscious acceptance of this 1260 timing frequency is the single most contributing factor to the problem of human alienation from nature. The timing, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to vote. You don't need to be an American. All of this socialism that's going to protect you and care for you is a scam, a band-aid to make up for the obvious fact that people are alienated from themselves and from the rest of nature and made to be crazy, and that you have to be crazy to be quote-unquote successful in this world by participating in it and not questioning it. The timing frequency discovery further demonstrates that the division of the solar year into 12 periods or months is an arbitrary one based on divisions of the circle, a construct of the geometry of space, into 12 parts of 30 degrees or days each. From the outset, the stream of civilization originating in Mesopotamia and was rooted in space, and what it thought to be time was only a measure of space. The antecedents of the Gregorian calendar find their origin in Egypt and Babylon around 3000 BC, at which time the spatial geometry of the circle arose. The timing of this occurrence in the ancient Middle East corresponds closely to the Mayan timing frequency, which describes a 5,126-year great cycle beginning in 3113 BC and ending in AD 2013. And this is written by Jose Arguelles, The Call of Pakal Votan. Looks like this says copyright Foundation for the Law of Time 11 Storm Year 2016 through 2017. So, to be out of time is to be in art, in nature. So I'm looking for ways that we can combat the control, the artificial takeover of humanity, because it's obviously a long past due to get into a survival mode for humanity, to serve our role in nature. And most people don't give a crap about anything. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I find these other people? How do we cooperate? So it's not some cult of like I'm leading people or following them, but we're sharing intelligence as members of nature and creating bastions, communities, or whatever to weather this storm. To use this information from the internet to get, that's a weird paradox, right? I'm depending on the internet to reach people and to reach information. And of course, isn't it natural that there is both artificial and natural, right? There's what man does. That could be farming, could be making clothes, just any of the things that we do, versus the other animals. They don't do a lot of that. They just live in the trees. They are a part of nature. So I guess it's about striking the right balance, and is that just something that is personal and not to be addressed on a wide scale? Maybe it's a very small group of people that I would even have a total audience to cooperate with. Maybe I just, if Monday Night Football and CNN and all that stuff is dominating us with the power of symbols, and they unconsciously affect us. That's the magic, the evil magic that is put against us, which is just as much going on with church being on a Sunday, church being still run by Rome. So the Christian people certainly got another thing coming to think that they're holy or good, even if Jesus is. That's my complaint against the Christians. What's going on? What have you done for me lately? What have you done for anybody lately? Jesus said we'd do everything he did and more. It's a pretty high bar. So what do you think about timing? Do you have any experience of using astrology or whatever kind of methods to, synchronize yourself to nature, where the stars are, or maybe meditating your heartbeat? What can you tell me about the importance of timing?